Tonight on 7 News.
Zardozi grabbed by Knight's Choice and Warp Speed coming at it. Knight's Choice, Warp Speed, they hit the line. It's a photo finish.
Pure Melbourne Cup magic. A little horse no one fancied wins by a whisker. Knight's Choice all heart and hope.
Royal Randwick gets all dressed up for the big dance and gives Flemington a run for its money.
The Reserve Bank keeps interest rates on hold, the only safe bet of the day.
Humiliation for the ABC, forced to apologise in Parliament for fake reporting.
America prepares for violence at the end of the most brutal election campaign it's ever seen.
And a Parramatta masterpiece, the new Powerhouse Museum, now unmissable.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Angela Cox and Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. An Irish jockey with the voice of an angel and a history-making female trainer have combined for the most unlikely of Melbourne Cup fairy tales.
Robbie Dolan, a former contestant on Seven's The Voice, rode Knight's Choice to a nail-biting win for co-trainers Sheila Laxon and John Simons.
The first race at Flemington is always the one for the best vantage point. Clear the turnstile hurdle and you're off and running. In Flemington's birdcage, stars everywhere you look and a bold prediction from a rock icon.
I will be leaving a very rich man.
Hotel heiress Nikki Hilton returned 21 years after causing a stir with Sister Paris.
It's very different than last time.
One thing never changes, the quest to find the winner. By jump time, Chris Waller's Buckaroo had been backed into outright favouritism.
Ready to go, and they're racing.
Gay Waterhouse's Just Fine went straight to the front, Robbie Dolan settling Knight's Choice well back in the field. Still near last, rounding the home turn, Dolan started to weave his way through the field as Jamie Carr hit the front on Okita Sushi.
Land Legend goes to the front with Akita Sushi on the outside. Then Zardozi back behind those Circle of Fire. Fancy Man, and from a long way back, Buckaroo. It's Akita Sushi. Zardozi a length away on the inside, wearing it down. Akita Sushi grabbed by Zardozi. Knight's Choice is coming through at any old price, and Warp Speed as well. Zardozi grabbed by Knight's Choice and Warp Speed coming at it. Knight's Choice, Warp Speed, they hit the line. It's a photo finish.
One of the great cup rides from Dolan, the 100-to-1 shot, home from Japan's Warp Speed with Akita Sushi third. The Irish rider's mood, like the majority of those on track, sheer disbelief.
Pinch me, I think I'm dreaming. I can't believe it. I don't even know what to say. He just proved everybody wrong.
Co-trainer Simons and who was the first female trainer to win the Cup with Ethereal in 2001, singing the praises of their singing jockey.
Can you believe it?
Yes.
Yes.
We wouldn't have been here if we didn't think we could. What a great ride by Robbie.
Robbie, well done. You're not just a good singer. Oh, man. I think I'll be singing for the rest of my life after that. What the hell?
Dolan shot to prominence 2 years ago as a contestant on Seven's The Voice.
I'm falling to pieces.
Robbie's dad, Bobby, secretly flew out from Ireland to see his son's first Cup ride.
To win it with him here and with my little daughter there, Maisie, and my partner, Christine. I'm going to cry again, Jesus Christ.
I'm over the moon. I bred a Melbourne Cup winner.
There you go. He's a Melbourne Cup winning sire.
The big challenge is happening right now. Getting 90,000 plus very well lubricated racegoers home safely. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Here in Sydney, punters had a bob each way with one eye on the Cup and the other on our own big dance race day at Royal Randwick. Grace Fitzgibbon is trackside tonight. Grace, there's still one race to run.
Yes, there is. Good evening, Angie. We are just minutes away from the last race of the day after what has been 8 long hours at the track for some. And I tell you, it is starting to show. The Kieran Ma-trained Gringotts took out the feature race today, the big dance itself, pocketing more than $1.5 million in prize money. But there were plenty of other winners too.
At Royal Randwick today, Flemington seemed far from mind.
Melbourne's definitely brought the weather, but yeah, you can't beat Sydney. Melbourne doesn't do anything better than Sydney, if I'm honest.
Sydney siders flocked to the track with high spirits and full pockets.
Just a great tradition. Love to be out here with the friends and family. It's a great day out.
Frocked up and feeling fabulous.
I feel a superstar.
Some had spent a lot.
It's from the visa.
But for others, just a little.
It's on a $2 shop.
Thousands of punters with backsides trackside for Sydney's Cup equivalent, the $3 million Big Dance.
Gringotts clinging on from Vivier, Super Razi, Duke Cash back. Gringotts wins the Big Dance. Gringotts by 3/4 to Vivier.
Lucky for some, but not for all. Still, they bounced back for the Cup itself. And the luck of the draw.
Whether you're back to winner or not, it's hard to be down when the vibes are this high.
In the city,
I couldn't tell you how many drinks we've made today, probably in the thousands.
Everyone's super dressed up, very colourful, very on theme for Melbourne Cup.
a big screen and a big win.
11,000, baby! 11,000!
610, I bet it's $10.
But for everyone else, it was back to the bar.
It was great till I lost, but it's okay, this will help.
Grace Fitzgibbon, 7 News.
There's fresh hope tonight for mortgage holders, with the Reserve Bank's own forecast now predicting a rate cut by the middle of next year. The Reserve Board keeping rates on hold today, with underlying inflation still considered too high.
Michelle Bullock isn't a betting woman.
I didn't actually back anyone on the Melbourne Cup. I'm embarrassed to say it, but actually I didn't even watch it.
And having already said there won't be a rate cut before Christmas, she isn't now taking a punt on when that cut will come.
I'm not going to be drawn into another forward guidance.
The RBA board today holding rates at 4.35%, where they've been now for a year.
What this means is that rates haven't gone up since last Melbourne Cup day.
One of the reasons the RBA admits it's underestimated a splurge in government spending, mostly by the states, aimed at easing the cost of living but keeping inflation higher for longer.
Australians aren't seeing light at the end of the tunnel.
The Reserve Bank's statement of monetary policy also released today, assuming rates falling to 4.1% by June next year, 3.7% by next December, 3.5% by June 2026. The question for the government is whether that first rate cut comes before an election in April or May, and that depends on how much inflation falls over the next several months.
Australians are already doing it tough enough when it comes to dealing with these higher interest rates.
The RBA's target band for underlying inflation is between 2% and 3%. It's currently at 3.5%. But Michelle Bullock says the Reserve won't necessarily wait for it to fall below 3% before cutting.
But we need to be pretty convinced that it's heading there with a fair degree of confidence.
And at the moment, confidence is in short supply. Mark Riley, 7 News.
The world is watching the United States tonight, anxiously waiting to see who it will choose as its next leader.
Most Americans head to the polls tomorrow in the hotly contested race, but voting early, more than 78 million people have already made their presidential pick. It's still a razor-thin margin between the rivals.
Donald Trump made 4 stops in 3 key states today in a bid to shore up final support, while Kamala Harris crisscrossed the big prize of Pennsylvania. That's where we find Miley Hogan, who begins our coverage.
Not usually a supporting act. But Lady Gaga knows she's not the headliner on this tour. Backing a woman on the brink of history.
Good evening, Philadelphia!
This is who crowds were here to see. Kamala Harris's final rallies felt more like concerts.
It's my body and my choice.
Star-studded. Their endorsements may help.
Yes, she can.
But this presidential hopeful knows it's the people of Pennsylvania who could deliver her a golden ticket to the White House. Barreling across the battleground state, time spent in Allentown, a majority Latino city, hoping to capitalise on the Trump fallout.
Calling Puerto Rico an island of garbage. My Latinos, where is your pride?
She's had 107 days to convince America. It's felt long, but in reality, it's one of the shortest election campaigns in US history.
And tonight,
then we finish as we started, with optimism.
Kamala Harris hopes her message has resonated with the nation. In a few hours' time, they'll decide if she's done enough to make history and become America's first Madam President. Kamala Harris has reached the end, now hoping it's just the beginning. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Police and city officials right across America are trying to reassure voters that tomorrow's election will be as safe as they can possibly make it.
But in the most volatile states, they're boarding up windows and erecting giant fences, fearing political violence on the streets. Tim Lester reports from Florida.
This is what the world's greatest democracy looks and sounds like right now. Frightened store owners preparing for violence and looting. In Washington, D.C., there's now a fence around the White House, the very symbol of democracy itself.
I feel very sad that this the state of things.
There will be no tolerance for violence in our city.
This from tough-talking Philadelphia.
Anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out.
And Florida, close to Donald Trump's home, is on riot alert too.
Don't do it. It won't end well for you.
As the Trump camp continues to lay the framework to cry fraud if he loses.
We've seen this playbook before, but this time we're prepared.
Today, the candidate himself blitzed the swing states one last time.
We're just one day away.
His most loyal supporters in Michigan are dressed in garbage bags.
Of course, that's what we have been referred to as garbage.
While in Palm Beach, near the venue for Trump's election night party, they're praying his presidency will be reborn. If it is a victory speech here tomorrow night, it will mark a truly stunning political comeback, all but unthinkable when Donald Trump left the White House almost 4 years ago in disgrace.
I've been waiting 4 years for this.
In Florida, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Let's go to US Bureau Chief David Woiwod now, who's in Washington, D.C. David, the bookies are backing Donald Trump, but Kamala Harris's camp claims to have plenty of momentum.
Good evening, Mark. Yeah, that is right. Look, this is an election race that is now set to go down to the wire. It is absolutely impossible to split these two candidates right now. It has just gone 2 a.m. here on the East Coast. It is election day, and that voting, look, it's already begun in the very small New Hampshire town of Dixville Notch. There is only 6 registered voters there. It's a little bit of an election day tradition. They have cast their ballots at midnight, and those results are now in. They have been tallied. 3 for Donald Trump and 3 for Kamala Harris. So perhaps a little bit of an early sign of just how close this race now actually is. But in a few hours' time, millions and millions more Americans, they will be waking up and they will begin flexing their Democratic muscle, although it could be a number of days until we get a full, complete picture of those results and we know who is going back to the White House, whether it is Donald Trump for a second term or whether the Democrats' great gamble of dumping Joe Biden so late in the game and replacing him with his deputy pays off.
OK, David Woiwod in Washington, D.C. Thank you. America's electoral college system means winning the national popular vote isn't enough for either candidate. Foreign editor Hugh Whitfield charts their race to 270.
The best way to look at both Donald Trump or Kamala Harris's road to victory is to see what happened 4 years ago. In 2020, Joe Biden won 306 electoral college votes. He was able to reclaim these 3 states for the Democrats: Wisconsin, Michigan and Pennsylvania, part of the so-called blue wall that Hillary Clinton had lost to Donald Trump in 2016, also picking up Georgia and Arizona. In 2024, we wiped the board clean, and based on polling and voting history, we can work out how most of the states will fall in this deeply divided country. At the moment, it looks like Donald Trump will get to 219, thanks to these rusted-on red states. Kamala Harris picks up a load of votes in the heavily populated Northeast and her home state of California, hitting 226. There is one poll out of Iowa saying it might flip to Harris. But it is these 7 swing states where it is all to play for, where the candidates have been spending most of their time. Swing states where at the moment it is too close to call. If Harris wins the 3 blue wall states, she'll be in the White House, 270. Even if Trump wins these Sunbelt states from the south, he's stuck on 268. One possibility, if Trump wins one of these and all 4 in the south, he wins. The biggest prize is Pennsylvania's 19 Electoral College votes, charting the easiest path to the White House.
And 7's live coverage of the US presidential election count begins at 11:30 tomorrow morning.
The distraught family of an 11-year-old Granville boy feared drowned off the Central Coast says his father did everything he could to rescue his son. They've told 7 News the only thing bringing them comfort now is that his 3 younger brothers survived.
Fish in hand, this was the last happy moment Laith Alhers shared with his family.
Loving kid, played with everyone, very playful.
His relatives haven't stopped looking for the 11-year-old since Sunday afternoon when he was swept away during a fishing trip at the entrance.
It's been very hard for us.
Laith was the last to cross this unpatrolled channel following his younger brothers and father, who tried desperately to swim after him.
They tried saving everyone. They saved 3. By the time he turned around, he couldn't see Laith. It was a split second.
Now, riddled with grief.
He hasn't slept, eaten or drank past more than 24 hours.
Despite an extensive 3-day search, there's been no sign of his little boy. Strangers rallying around his family, offering food and accommodation.
We just would like to thank the local community, local businesses. It's been very overwhelming.
Relatives say the family had crossed this channel at least 3 times during the day without any problems. They can't make sense of what happened here, but say finding Laith is the only thing that will help bring them closure.
God willing, hopefully we can find him.
Calling on police to extend the search.
Just to give the mum and dad a closure.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
The case against alleged double murderer Beau Lamar Condon is facing significant delays after the former police officer changed his legal representation. The 29-year-old is accused of murdering his ex-boyfriend, Jesse Baird, and Luke Davies with his police-issued firearm in February. He was expected to enter pleas today, but instead his lawyer told the court he was officially withdrawing from the case. Lamar Condon will now be represented by New South Wales Legal Aid, paid for by the taxpayer. The magistrate describing the late switch as regrettable.
The ABC has apologised in Parliament for a story about Australian soldiers that contained fake gunshots exposed by Channel 7 Spotlight. Bosses were grilled over why the vision wasn't taken down 2 years ago when lawyers first contacted the public broadcaster.
The team went to great.
ABC bosses face a barrage of questions.
Who was responsible?
Was anyone's employment terminated?
Over extra gunshots in reports on Australian soldiers in Afghanistan.
5 additional sounds of gunshots were inadvertently but inaccurately introduced into footage. It was Spotlight and Channel 7 that brought to our attention the video editing issues.
The original footage.
A warning shot.
Compared with the ABC online story.
Becomes 6.
Obviously, this shouldn't have occurred, and we're taking it and have taken it very seriously.
Senators told an independent review headed by a former ABC staffer found it wasn't done deliberately or to mislead or deceive, but an accident of trying to create an effective video sequence.
Can I ask you what you have to say to the soldiers of 2nd Commando Regiment?
We've been very clear in our public statement that Mr Sunderland's done a very thorough interim review. We've been very clear that we regret what happened. Mate, I want to go into my office. Thank you very much. Oh, of course.
The review also found the editing of an interview with a former US official was potentially misleading.
The errors identified in the interim report should not have occurred, and we apologise for them.
The report also raised issues regarding the ABC's complaints system that remain unresolved. Another key question remained unanswered today: why a letter to ABC lawyers warning of the extra gunshot sounds back in 2022 wasn't followed up.
Saying you've got it wrong, you've put these fake gunshots in the video, and what? No one did anything? Is that what you're telling me?
Senator, that's what's still being investigated.
Paul Caddock, 7 News.
Time to check the forecast now with Angie Asimus.
Angie, there's some hot weather on the way.
Angela, Mark, summer is certainly knocking at the door this week. A heat wave warning is in place. This is the map starting tomorrow. We have a low-intensity heat wave highlighted in cream, as well as pockets of severe heat wave conditions shown in yellow. Now, that hot air mass stretches right down to the Hunter region. Today, conditions in Sydney were spot on average, though. We reached a top of 24 degrees in the CBD, a degree warmer in our west. So temperatures were pleasant, but there wasn't a great deal of sunshine. Clouds persisted for most of the day, and apart from the odd light sprinkle, they were not rain-bearing. Sydney won't miss out on the hot weather. Some suburbs will reach the mid-30s this week. Details on when that's likely to happen coming up soon.
OK, thank you, Angie. Police investigating a terrifying crash in our southwest. Still to come, the incredible vision that might help explain what happened.
The shocking arson attack on a quiet street in Western Sydney.
The new swim spots flagged for our west. Who's behind the grand plans?
The very honest death notice 2 sons wrote for their mother, why it's gone viral.
And the secret list of Sydney suburbs at risk of massive blackouts this summer.
Welcome back. Terrifying new dashcam vision has emerged of an SUV clipping another car and rolling towards oncoming traffic on the Hume Highway at Casula last Tuesday night. The 17-year-old P-plater behind the wheel of the Audi was not seriously injured. Police are still investigating.
A Sydney family has had to flee their burning home after 2 cars were torched on the driveway overnight. At least 4 children, including a baby, were rushed to safety outside after what detectives think was a targeted attack.
With flames closing in on their home, a family is forced to flee.
It's gonna explode. They shouting like, get out from the house.
A couple and at least 4 children, including a baby, managed to escape uninjured.
They carried the baby and the people in the house just coming out.
They were screaming, very, very scary. We were very scared. All the neighbors came out and it was horrible.
There was all flames and everybody was running.
Minutes earlier, shortly before 1 a.m, the family's 2 cars were torched. The Green Valley home saved by firefighters.
That's terrible. That's awful. What's going on?
Detectives now looking for 4 arsonists. Security cameras captured the suspects dousing the cars in petrol before setting them alight. When the flames took off, 1 arsonist was seriously burnt. As the hatchbacks went up, panicked voices could be heard.
Who knows what it's for, what it's about, but it's dangerous and it's frightening.
And according to police, targeted. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
Tonight we can reveal there's a secret list that helps determine which Sydney suburbs will be shut down first and last in the case of a blackout. It has come to light after authorities issued a level 2 warning for the state's power grid this Thursday, 1 step away from a blackout alert.
As our power system becomes more dependent on renewables, experts warn tonight it could leave the electricity system more vulnerable to blackouts.
We've got an increasingly weather-dependent system.
While an undersupply of power from coal and renewables can trigger blackouts, there's now the threat from oversupply. On sunny, windy days, wind and solar can generate too much power, triggering blackouts because there's no other way to control the network.
It's just becoming harder and harder to keep the system in balance in real time.
A level 2 lack of reserve warning has been issued for Thursday afternoon. A level 3 means risk of blackout. A blackout plan is in place across the state, deciding which suburbs will be shut down first. But that list is secret, although insiders have told us if you live near critical infrastructure like hospitals or shopping centres, you'll be the last to go dark. To reduce demand on the grid, turn off all power points and avoid the big energy users like washing machines and aircon. Another alternative is to go off-grid and install your own battery.
The battery is a backup system just in case anything goes wrong up at the grid.
Amy Clements, 7 News.
Drama outside the inquest into William Tyrrell's disappearance still ahead. The incident a judge described as disappointing and disturbing.
What sent a jumping castle flying 10 metres into the air.
Later, the Southwest Sydney high school students launching experiments into space.
An exclusive first look inside the new Powerhouse Museum at Parramatta.
Remembering the man behind some of the most iconic songs of the past 4 decades.
On bended knee in Bunnings, the bizarre proposal among the tools.
And ahead in sport, in Western Sydney, Tonga are the people's team before playing against Australia.
A jumping castle operator has gone on trial in Tasmania accused of safety breaches over an accident that killed 6 children 3 years ago. The ride was tossed 10 metres into the air by a mini tornado, landing 60 metres away during a fair at Hillcrest Primary School. Rosemary Gamble is accused of tethering the castle in only 4 places instead of 8 and using pegs that were too small.
The coroner investigating William Tyrrell's disappearance says she's disappointed and disturbed after the boy's foster mother was verbally abused while leaving yesterday's hearing.
How dare you! Should be ashamed of yourself. Justice for William!
The inquest is examining a police theory that the woman buried the 3-year-old's body after his accidental death. She has always denied any involvement.
The controversial Powerhouse Museum is changing the face of Parramatta, and tonight, for the first time, we can show you inside Western Sydney's new cultural treasure. It's already been compared to other famous landmarks.
It will be the soul of Western Sydney, the Parramatta Powerhouse charging towards completion, its exoskeleton of many X's almost finished.
It's a real showstopper. It's looking great.
Oh, it's great. Done all the hard yards. We're kind of 70% of the way through.
7 News given the very first tour of breathtaking exhibition spaces.
It's really on a scale that has to be seen to be believed.
And this will be the main exhibition space.
This is the main exhibition space, presentation space 1, opening out onto the foreshore.
Construction set to be complete by the end of next year, with a target opening in 2026. The government using the build to lift the local economy. $400 million in contracts awarded to Australian-based businesses so far.
I think this is about really saying Western Sydney, is here we are.
It's worth almost $1 billion, but this is the biggest arts and cultural project since they built the Opera House more than 50 years ago. It's a legacy that's hard to match, but Western Sydney is giving it a good go.
Artists and exhibitors already lining up to move in.
We'll have 5 international exhibitions that will tell amazing new stories.
And diverse arts and culture too, really reflecting the many different communities that are around here in Western Sydney.
Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Quincy Jones was the ultimate music maestro, producing hits for many of the biggest names in the business. His creative legacy remembered today following his death at the age of 91.
He made Michael Jackson the biggest star on the planet.
Mr. Quincy Jones.
And put the swing into some of Frank Sinatra's greatest hits.
Fly me to the moon.
Quincy Jones, known simply as Q, helped to shape the history of music. A musician, a producer, and most important of all, a collaborator.
That's the only time we do an octave like that. That's beautiful.
Conducting the best musicians of a generation for We Are the World, raising money for famine relief in Ethiopia.
1, 2.
We are the world.
Complete taste, class, style, elegance, the nicest man, and without question, copper-bottomed, gold-plated genius.
Jones began his career playing jazz trumpet and piano, but as an arranger, he soared.
Orchestration was something I think that I was just born to do. I just love it so much.
And musicians loved him. Paul McCartney posting photos of their time together. He was supremely talented, and I felt privileged to have known him for many years. He wrote the soundtracks for dozens of movies, among them the catchy theme song for Austin Powers. A man of unbridled talent with 80 Grammy nominations and his name forever behind the best-selling album of all time. Quincy Jones was 91. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Move over Bondi. There are new swimming spots coming to Sydney. Up next, who's behind the new push to cool off in our west?
The Sydney suburbs, where rents are still soaring.
We speak to the sons behind a hilarious and heartfelt death notice that's gone viral.
And soon in sport, Pat Cummins to the rescue, seeing them beautifully, and we'll tell you why.
The most historic US election in our lifetime. Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. The first female president or the comeback of the century. With Seven's correspondents live across America, led by Michael Usher and Angela Cox, with Natalie Barr live from the White House. Hold on tight. Anything can happen. The only place to watch history unfold is on 7.
Welcome back. There's a new bid to introduce more public swimming areas across Western Sydney. Rivers and waterways are set for facelifts following the success of Penrith Beach. A new task force will be appointed by the state government to scout for the next Bondi. The team will investigate building vibrant boardwalks and hospitality hubs along our waterways.
Rents have soared by more than $100 a week in one Sydney suburb. Here's property editor Angelique Opie with the latest details on who's paying more.
The average rent in Australia right now, $655 a week for homes, just over $600 for units. New South Wales is still the most expensive state. The average right now, $718 a week for homes and $679 for units. A big mover? Collaroy. House rents have climbed $164 a week in a year. Unit rents have gone up $54. However, one of a few suburbs seeing a dip is Little Bay. Rents are down $43 there for homes. Units have edged up $14 in a year.
Taking a look at finance now, the ASX 200 has closed down 33 points. Fast food chains Domino's Pizza and Guzman and Gomez were both lower, while mineral resources surged. $1 Australian dollar is buying 65.94 US cents.
A Sydney Sun has gone viral for a heartfelt but hilarious newspaper notice announcing the death of his 88-year-old mother, Jenny. It paid tribute to a very colourful character who loved a party, a drink and cannabis. He even encouraged mourners to bring a shovel.
After losing his beloved mother Jennifer last week, Sean Kelly wrote a notice for the local newspaper, honouring her with hilarious honesty, unaware his good-humoured grief was about to go global.
I had never done a death notice. I'd never really looked at them. I swear, I spent less than 4 minutes on that.
An obituary so unconventional, Sean says the classified salesman wasn't sure he could publish it.
He said, yeah, he had to get approval from his boss.
The notice read, "Farewell Jenny Kelly, our wild and wayward mother. Remembering a woman who grew great dope, never wanted to leave a party and gave up champagne or gin frequently but never simultaneously. Sharing news on what's next to follow, bring a shovel."
The next thing I knew was the day after someone said, I think we heard someone on the radio talking about your mother this morning.
The notice has now gone viral, shared and celebrated by thousands around the world, including British newspaper The Independent and People magazine in the US.
She would say that she was mortified, but all my friends tell me that she would be absolutely delighted at the attention.
Remembered after death as a woman who lived life to the fullest. Amber Laidler, 7 News.
I think I would have liked Jenny. She sounds like fun. From southwest Sydney into space, still to come, the Casula hosts students launching their experiments into the stratosphere, how they could change space travel forever.
And this could be the most Aussie proposal ever, getting on bended knee in Bunnings. Don't miss those stories soon on 7 News.
First, Matt's here with sport. And Matt, good luck to anyone who backed a winner today.
Ange, luckily someone we know is very, very good at the sweeps. He's done it again this year. Well played, Fergo. We'll have the cup reaction next and the eye-watering dividends for any lucky winners. Here at Randwick, a gallant star had a legendary owner laughing all the way to the winner's post.
I've been dreaming of winning this race for years.
And Panther Lindsay Smith earns his Kangaroos debut, a baptism of fire against the mighty Tongans. The singing jockey Robbie Dolan joked he's no certainty to fulfil his engagements at Ipswich on Thursday after one of the great Melbourne Cup triumphs on 100-to-1 outsider Knight's Choice. Celebrations have moved to Crown Casino for Dolan and co-trainers John Simons and Sheila Laxon. With one of the great cup rides, the Irishman stormed home to complete an unlikely fairy tale, holding off Japanese raider Warp Speed. Now it's time to hydrate.
I need a beer. Yeah. Is that rolling? Oh, it was just weird stuff happening this week where I was just a bit superstitious that something was going to happen, and yeah, it just did.
Akita Sushi was third. If you nailed any of the Melbourne Cup exotics, it's your shout tonight. Knight's Choice paid $58 on the tote, but some bookies bet as much as 100-to-1. And check out these dividends. The trifecta, worth more than $30,000, and the first four, upwards of 870,000 grand. He missed out in the Cup, but the big dance is a handy consolation for champion trainer Kieran Maher. Maher's runners finished 1-2 in the $3 million feature at Randwick. Gringotts winning from Vivier and Super Artsy. Gallant Star, part owned by cricketing great Kerry O'Keefe, made the barn dance a one-act affair.
And Gallant Star's roaring away. This is a massive win.
He's got a huge heart, and this is a huge day for us. Yeah. The barn dance.
Come on, surely you got some stories.
I've been dreaming of winning this race for years.
The barn dance is reserved for country-trained horses. Pat Cummins is seeing the ball better than ever, and with good reason. After last night's nervy win over Pakistan, Mitchell Starc revealed Cummins had corrective eye surgery earlier this year. The skipper's unbeaten 32 got the Aussies home by 2 wickets.
Arriving in Adelaide, Matt Short carrying precious cargo ahead of Game 2 against Pakistan Friday. Coffee and a phone glimpse for Pat Cummins. Some teammates unaware the captain had a vision problem.
I only read that today as well, but I'm not too sure. Maybe he's had laser surgery or I don't know.
Last night, Josh Inglis saw the ball like a watermelon, belting 49. Australia's top scorer well caught in the deep by Irfan Khan. That triggered a mid-order collapse. 16 for Marnus Labuschagne, Glenn Maxwell a golden duck, Aaron Hardy 10, 3 for none off 5 balls. Cue another Cummins rescue mission like he did during last year's World Cup in India. The skipper looking more and more like a genuine all-rounder, an unbeaten 32 off 31 balls.
Wonderful strike from the Australian captain.
Mission accomplished by 2 wickets. Good mate Mitchell Starc revealing the captain's recent corrective eye surgery.
Now he's got his eyes fixed. Or is that not knowledge? Maybe ask him.
Stark's 3 for 33, earning him man of the match. The captain needs no glasses to see his batters must get better.
I think, there's still room just to try and find a couple of partnerships.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
If this afternoon's scenes are any indication, Tonga are the virtual home team for Sunday's Pacific Championships final at CommBank Stadium. In for a baptism of fire, Panther Lindsay Smith will debut for the Kangaroos.
He's the quiet-achieving premiership winner, soon-to-be Kangaroo number 858.
Obviously, playing for the Panthers, he knows how to win, and he's been great around the group.
Smith will start on the bench against Tonga Hudson Young to fill the very big shoes left by Cam Murray, who's out with a wrist injury. Young finally getting his chance after being dropped by the Blues.
He's got a lot to prove, and like I said, he's very excited about being there.
Mal Meninga today confirmed Murray actually picked up the wrist injury in camp prior to the Kiwis clash.
He kept it pretty quiet. He wanted to play, but you ask Cam, he wouldn't have missed last week for nothing.
Meninga knows the Kangaroos can't just rely on their reputation as the best team in the world. He's wary of a Tongan side with an enormous forward pack and plenty of strike.
They're a terrific outfit. All their players are playing the NRL. They got great effort in them, and they're big hooers.
Tonga were offered 5-star accommodation in the city, but chose to stay in Rooty Hill instead, to be close to the local Tongan community.
They play for their family, they play for their heritage, but most of all they love to represent their country. We just don't fear them at all, we don't fear any opposition.
Jaleesa Raps, 7 News.
I'll stay impartial, but I'll just recommend get out to a Tongan training session this week because the music was blaring, the spirit is there. It's amazing. It's so good to see what's happening for them.
So much passion, so much noise.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank
Good on
you,
you,
Maddie.
Thank you. From southwest Sydney to SpaceX, a school experiment devised at Casula High is in Earth's orbit tonight after being launched aboard a Falcon 9 rocket.
For students, science doesn't get much more exciting than this, watching the blast off from their classroom.
Not even the sky is the limit for these students.
On its way to the International Space Station, carrying science, supplies, and the spirit of exploration.
Today at Casula High, they watched their hard work launch into Earth's orbit aboard SpaceX.
3, 2, 1.
I'm really impressed with our school and I'm really proud of us all.
Part of a program with the powerhouse Parramatta, the class was tasked with designing a microgravity experiment. Theirs, growing algae in space, chosen as the winner.
We're looking at a way of filtering the air in spacecraft, which means that we can actually stay in those spacecraft for longer than we currently can.
Down the line, it could also help slow climate change and support life on Mars.
I'm pretty excited, because it's my experiment and the fact that it's actually going into space is pretty serious.
This class is the first in New South Wales to be offered the opportunity to design and launch an experiment in space. It has been a trial, but based on this success, the program could be offered again to future classes.
Fostering a passion for STEM in more students.
With opportunities like this coming out to areas like Western Sydney, it's unfathomable where they could end up going.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Lowest prices really are just the beginning at Bunnings. There's love too, as devoted shopper Melanie found out when partner Jeff asked staff to help him pop the question.
I'm there at Bunnings every week, and he was just doing it just right for me.
Very fortunately, she did say yes. Many congratulations.
Amazing. Now Angie's back with the forecast.
Angie's warming up.
Certainly is, Mark and Angela. Thursday and Friday are the days to watch. Details on how hot it's expected to be next.
Tonight, 7 News headlines, an incredible upset for Knight's choice in the Melbourne Cup.
The Reserve Bank now forecasting an interest rate cut mid-next year.
And it's election day in America with the first ballots already counted.
Now here's Angie with Sydney's weather.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's been overcast in Sydney today with average temperatures. However, the coming days will bring heatwave conditions to large parts of New South Wales. Today, though, 24 degrees was the top in the CBD, and that comes off the back of a warm night, 19 the low. Not much separated conditions from east to west today. 23 degrees at Mascot, 24 for Liverpool, 25 at Penrith. That cloud cover produced only a light sprinkle, barely enough to even register in the gauge. There are some severe storms tonight, though. Warnings cover this region, highlighted in yellow, so through the northern tablelands and northern rivers. Much of that clears tomorrow and a cold front approaches from the southwest. Ahead of that, we are going to see a hot air mass filter across the state, promoting those heat wave warnings. You can see the effects of that heat. It'll actually impact every state and territory at some point in the coming days. Tomorrow, a top of 41 degrees in Mount Isa, 33 degrees on the way for Melbourne and for Canberra, and 28 at Hobart. In New South Wales, it's inland regions mostly. 44 degrees expected at Wilcannia, 40 at Canamble, 37 on the way at Dubbo. The southeast also well above average, 31 degrees at Bega and 30 at Batemans Bay. Sydney will be warmer tomorrow, but northeasterly winds should moderate conditions a little bit. So that'll keep tops to the mid to high 20s on the coast, pushing into the low 30s in our west. On the water, northeasterly winds reaching about 20 knots on a 1 metre swell. Wind warnings cover just the south coast tomorrow. Northerlies really picking up, and that's most likely to happen from the late afternoon into the evening. If we check the CBD now, it is going to be another fairly warm night, dipping to 18 degrees. Temperatures increasing throughout the day, 27 forecast. Not expecting any rain. It'll remain partly cloudy, so a few more sunny breaks than today. Now, to the next 7 days, things really heat up Thursday. 31 degrees in the CBD, 36 in our west. That heat to break late in the day with a storm, so the bulk of the day will be settled. Temperatures then climb again Friday. We're looking at tops in the 30s once again. The weekend brings temperatures much closer to average. We're looking at mid-20s, but also some showers picking up from Sunday onwards, increasing through until this time next week. But thankfully, no rain for Melbourne Cup. That's a win, the only win for most of us, unless you're Mark Ferguson. Congrats again.
Thank you. A win's a win.
Well done.
I appreciate it. So much support.
She's not happy about it. That is 7 News for this Tuesday. We will have updates for you throughout the evening.
A special US election edition of Sunrise starts from 5:30 tomorrow, and we'll have full coverage throughout the day. From all the team, have a great night.
Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app.